All right, so now we'll be going through the electron transport chain for photosynthesis. I've drawn it all out just to save time. Here, we know what our photosystems are. There's small differences between them. We'll get to that. This is 2 and this is 1. Just to make things more confusing, because you look at it and you say, well, that one's first. Why is that one photosystem 1? It makes sense. This was discovered first. This was discovered second. But the light, the electrons that are released from photosystem 2 are the first ones used in this electron transport chain. So, get to the names of everything else once we get there. I was getting too far ahead of myself. So, as we know, just went through, light enters the photosystem. Photons. And light enters photosystem 2, say first. It's kind of simultaneous, but it's important just to know that we're getting electrons released from here, and they're moving along. We have PQ that helps keep things moving until we get to this black part I've drawn called the cytochrome complex. Now, this complex, how do I say? It doesn't do a whole lot other than I'd say just keeps the electrons moving. What's more important with the cytochrome complex is that there's an electron released once PQ brings the electrons into it. So as we get here, there's one that's released into the stroma, the thylakoid lumen, down here. And these electrons keep going until they get to photosystem 2. And in photosystem 2, until they get to photosystem 1. In photosystem 1, light enters, does the same thing as photosystem 2, except there's a small difference. So the light in photosystem 2 is at the 680 wavelength. In photosystem 1, it's 700. The electrons will enter through here and go through the same thing that they did in photosystem 2 with chlorophyll to the primary electron receptor. Oh, I forgot to mention there is a plastocyanin, is that how you spell that? That might be the incorrect spelling, but it essentially just keeps the electrons moving. And the electrons reach ferredoxin. And in ferredoxin, NADP plus, no, NADH plus, NADP, NADH plus, yes, NADH plus becomes NADPH, NADHP. They're very similar. It'll help if I write this out. NADP plus becomes NADPH, yes, and it becomes oxidized. That's the job of ferredoxin. Oxidize NADPH to become, oxidize NADP plus to become NADPH. And the first electron will occur there, and then NAD, oh my gosh, NAD, PH here, NADPH reductase. An enzyme that will reduce NADPH and send it to the Calvin cycle. And when it goes to the Calvin cycle, it has 2 electrons. Just go to the, oh my goodness, I'm scrambled here. And I don't want to restart the video, I'll be very honest. I've already done that once. I messed up around here. NAD, no, this is K. NADH reductase, yes. And then NADPH is sent to the Calvin cycle for light-dependent reactions. And it's sent NADPH with 2 electrons. That's the job of ferredoxin, is to supply those electrons to NADH to make NADPH that then goes to the Calvin cycle along with ATP. And if we remember this amazing protein here, this is called ATP synthase, and it does essentially the same thing it did in electron transport chain in cell resp, creating that proton gradient. I didn't draw it, but it's important to know that there is a proton gradient here. Hydrogen's floating around, being integrated back and forth. And I think that's it for electron transport. That's not it. Oh my goodness. Something very important. It's the whole reason water is needed in photosynthesis, is so that we can get these electrons. All these electrons come from the breakdown of H2O. So there's enzymes on all the photosystems that help break down water to supply the electrons that are then given energy from the photons so that chlorophyll A can move them up to the primary electron acceptor, and that is how we have an entire electron transport chain. That is very important. Wow, that was a tough video. I had such a hard time with the NADH, and I almost forgot the water. Well, it's important to remember water and light, power, photosynthesis. Photosynthesis would not occur without this. That is not how you spell light. It's being a long day. And that is the electron transport chain.